I think last week's show we spent a good a bit of time talking about the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, just basically saying with Dean Ambrose having to face John Cena in a contract and a pole match, more than likely in one of the opening matches of the show, leading to the winner going on to face Seth Rollins. It honestly wasn't looking like that great of a show, but then Monday, out of the middle of nowhere, WWE just sort of reflipped the script, and it seems like everything that they were doing was thrown out the window. It's almost like when Rock came back 2 weeks ago and had that promo against Rusev. That big surprise was like a big breath of fresh air to WWE, and I know that a lot of the matches haven't changed. A lot of things are still basically the way they are, but they're putting together what looks like to be a good wrestling show. If I can quote myself, I thought that last month people were definitely going to watch the Hell in a Cell 2014 pay-per-view on the WWE Network. But I think that I said that people were mostly just going to be watching this show just because it's on. And I mean, what else are you going to do when a WWE pay-per-view is on? You're going to watch it no matter, if you got a big match on there or not. It's WWE pay-per-view. It's wrestling on a Sunday night. I know that they have, this is going up against, oh, it just slipped my mind. I know this week is going to be the Niners and Broncos on Sunday Night Football, and Hell in the Cell is going to be in the next slot. But I mean, like, there's football and there's wrestling. If you're not doing one of those things, I don't know what you're doing in the world, basically. But now it's setting up. I'm going to call Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins in a Hell in the Cell match. I'm going to call that match the main event. You also have John Cena and Randy Orton appearing in their 29th match on WWE pay-per-view in the history of their rivalry that is going strong. They're going to have a Hell in the Cell match. You got Big Show going up against Rusev. Sheamus is having a match for United States Championship against The Miz. And Brie and Nikki Bella is having a singles match where the loser becomes the winner's personal assistant. Honestly, you're probably going to get the Dust Brothers going up against the Usos in a tag match. And probably there's going to be one more match out there sort of name. Maybe Mark Henry and Bo Dallas can limp into the pay-per-view with one more match. But this is a good, honest, respectable wrestling show. This is going to be really fun. Ambrose and Rollins going to be main eventing their first show. I think it's one of the rivalries that's most strong in the WWE. I think that basically if they didn't take a month off from Dean Ambrose, from him to go out and make that movie. I think that's something that I've looked at in the past. When wrestlers go off and make the movies, that it's going to make them a bigger star. I remember, John Cena got to go do it, and after that, he went to Mr. Anderson, Ken Kennedy. When he was in WWE, he went off and made that, war flick. I thought that was going to make him a main eventer, and I didn't learn from that. The Marine 2 went to Ted DiBiase, and I kept waiting for that as that DVD was coming closer. I kept on thinking, well, they put him in a movie. It was a good featured role. Definitely, it's going to be something that they're going to make him a main eventer to make him seem like it's a big deal. Why else would you give this mid Carter that's never been to the top before? Why would you give him this big movie spot? And it never came, and it never happened. Of course, Ted DiBiase is out of WWE now. He's sitting at home. He left to become a father. There's been rumors a couple times about him popping up in TNA and popping up in WWE, and nothing's ever came of it since. But I don't know. I'm hoping that this movie role for Dean Ambrose is going to pay off with him, becoming a big star. But honestly, I think if Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins would have had a rematch from SummerSlam at the Night of Champions, I think that there would be a little bit more fuel dumped on the fire for this Hell in the Cell match. And they do have a little bit of catching up to do. I think everybody knows that Ambrose versus Rollins is a blood feud, basically with Seth Rollins giving the curb stomp to Dean Ambrose on Monday Night Raw, on top of those cinder blocks, basically squishing his brains out all over the floor. That basically, Ambrose really wants to get back at him for breaking up the Shield. That was a group that could have ran WWE for the foreseeable future, and Seth Rollins put his future above everybody else's, and sort of wants to make sure that he's going to rise to the top. I guess you can say it's paid off, in the short run, with him winning the Money in the Bank, and then You got to think, well, now he's got this Money in the Bank briefcase, which holds the contract where he can cash in at any time. And maybe they should have ran some sort of a storyline. You had basically Dean Ambrose steal it, and then he basically just gave it right back. He didn't ask for any demands. He didn't, they used that to sort of make sure that the Hell in the Cell match was going to happen. Everybody just sort of came out and said, "Hey, give it back," and he gave it to him. Of course, it was fooled with the Nickelodeon gack, which squirted all over him in the middle of the ring. And I don't know, it was fun. It was a good moment that we might remember for a good foreseeable future. But they could have done more, and it could have been bigger and better. But then again, uh, John Cena didn't have an opponent, so you had to be sort of keeping him in the loop to make him look like he's a big time main eventer. And honestly, I think this is what the John Cena versus Randy Orton match really is. You got to think if they're gonna have a Hell in the Cell match with no build. I know that the Hell in the Cell is going to be at Monday Night Raw on Monday, and basically when you can look back at the Hell in the Cell for 2009, when Cena and Orton met, basically that's all that they needed to set the table for that match. Was just 1 week. They were out there and the cell dropped on them and they had a battle inside of the Hell in the Cell. And that's basically what led to them having a Hell in the Cell match at the Hell in the Cell 2009 pay-per-view, which is one segment on Monday Night Raw. Everybody knew that these guys didn't like each other. Of course, with the John Cena's Greatest Rivalry DVD, I'm hoping everybody went out and picked that up at Best Buy or Walmart or Amazon.com. But maybe that's what they're thinking is going to help push this match, is noticing that these guys have fought a lot over the history of their career. They've never really been on the same page. Maybe if you look back in the history of WWE 2010, 2011, maybe you'll see sometimes that Cena and Orton tagged up. I don't think anybody ever really liked it, but I think it's happened a few times here or there on Raw. But I don't think these guys have ever been friends. What doesn't make sense to me is there is no stipulation other than the Hell in the Cell match. Nobody's asking for a title shot. Nobody's asking for a match against Seth Rollins. Nobody's asking for the loser gets fired. The loser has to appear on SmackDown exclusively. Anything would help this match get a little bit more attention and a little bit more praise. Everybody else is just sort of looking at this match like it is what it is. I remember these guys, drew their cards where they were going to have the match after the Survivor Series last year. Cena came out there and sort of put it on the table. Let's unify these belts. I'm tired of running around with this one. You're running around with that one. So TLC, they had the TLC match. And everybody crapped all over it. They always bring up the fact that 2007, I think it was, somewhere around there, they said they were going to have a match, and it was going to be the last time these guys ever faced off on WWE pay-per-view, or even had a match in general, I think. But here they are again. I thought that you put these two guys in the ring. You're gonna get a good match regardless. I'm not the biggest Orton fan in the world, but they're big time veterans and they're big stars for a reason. It doesn't matter if these guys have wrestled 29 times on pay-per-view. They're gonna get in there. They're gonna get it done. I thought the TLC match at the pay-per-view, I thought that was a good match to unify the championship. Of course, Orton picked up the win with the Authority looking on. John Cena was all tied up in the ropes and he wasn't able to climb up the ladder and make the save, even though he had the brute force to break the ropes down. From there, we go on to Brie Bella versus Nikki Bella. That's going to be the singles match. The loser will become the winner's personal assistant. Kind of weird. Not this week, but last week it was. Was it this? I can't remember when it was. Let's just say Brie Bella beat Nikki Bella on Monday Night Raw. Pinned her clean in the middle of the ring, and now we're still getting this match. It seems like, they came out of Night of Champions. Really, really strong on this. I was really lost at Night of Champions. They had the three-way where Nikki Bella earned herself a championship title shot right before the match. They didn't interview AJ. They didn't interview Paige. They didn't interview Nikki Bella, but they interviewed Brie Bella, and she was spitting venom, basically, saying everything that was wrong with Nikki. And I thought the table was set for her to come down and make sure that she cost her a shot at the championship. And Nikki Bella was in the match, and she got some offense in, but I don't think at any point in that match, Night of Champions, anybody thought Nikki Bella was going to be walking out of there with the title. I think it would have helped WWE a lot of the ways if they would have done the title switch and made Nikki the champion. Of course, she had helped out Stephanie, and she was sort of in the pocket of the authority at that time, but it could have broken up the AJ versus Paige feud that seems like it's not really going anywhere, and I don't think anybody's really that excited about it. They've done some things the last few weeks on Raw where basically they've broken off their frenemies friendship. Paige is running around with uh, Alicia Fox, and and then on Raw, basically, AJ has had to team up with Emma, and she's not getting along with her, and then she teams up with Layla, and Layla turns on her, and even though Layla turned on her, AJ was still able to pick up the victory by pinning Alicia Fox in the match, but it would have killed the monotony of this match that just doesn't really seem like anybody really cares about. These girls have so much talent in the world, and they just can't get it done for some reason. But they came out of Night of Champions really strong, of course, with the Jerry Springer segment, and the brother coming down, and then the girls, basically. All over each other wanting to fight, and then they sort of cooled this off the last 2 weeks. They haven't really let them talk. It's just sort of been set in stone. These girls are going to have a match, and from there we're going to see who the personal assistant is going to be. It doesn't really make sense. I understand they want to keep up a lot of the feuds from Total Divas, but when you're watching Total Divas, some of the girls that have spats during the show, they have matches on Raw. But then when you watch Total Divas and you're looking at the Bellas, these girls are drinking wine together, and they're making sure that their sisterhood is staying strong. They have arguments. They're able to work it out on most like most reality shows. So if the other girls are having to fight on Raw to solve their problems for months in the past, why are the Bellas fighting on Monday Night Raw television when they're able to work through their problems on Total Divas? It doesn't really make sense to me. I'm picking Nikki Bella. There's no way in the world that Brie Bella is going to win, make Nikki Bella her slave, and have it make sense anywhere around the world. I know that they've done things in the past, like with the heel GMs. They have to basically keep their jobs. They become the janitor. They did this with Eric Bischoff having to do weird jobs around the arena in WCW and things like that. But I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to that. Sheamus versus The Miz. This honestly should be a really good match. I have a lot of faith in both of these guys. Sheamus, to me, is a guy that has good matches, but I just never really liked the progression of his storylines that much. But The Miz running around with Mizdow, of course, that would be Damian Sandow, has been gold as of week. Basically everybody knows about Sandow putting the invisible figure four leg lock on the mystery opponent outside of the ring as The Miz was doing it, and we got to see a really great segment on Main Event. It was too bad that this was on Main Event and it wasn't even on SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. Basically, Sheamus coming out, Mizdow coming out acting as Sheamus before, pissing Sheamus off, him come running down, giving the big bro kick, knocking out Sandow, which left Miz just wondering what is going to happen for him in the foreseeable future. Of course, Miz was able to pick up the win over Sheamus on Monday Night Raw, and then of course Miz was able to get a countout win over Sheamus, both from Sandow's distractions on the outside. Who knows what's going to happen from here at Hell in a Cell? Honestly, if it comes down to it, I'm going to steal this right from the Law, is where I got it from. I'm hoping that more than likely we're going to have Sheamus beat the Miz on at Hell in a Cell, and of course they have one of those sort of right off the bat, right on Monday Night Raw, you get the rematch of what you could have seen on the pay-per-view if you have a WWE Network sort of a deal, where Sheamus comes to the ring to have his match, put the championship up on the line against Miz, and Mizdow stands in for him, wins the title, and then of course we have a split of Miz and Damian Sandow going at it over the United States champion, over who is the true champion, because he is a stunt double that would make the title his, but Sandow's the guy who won it. And then they can sort of run with that. Sheamus is the guy that can, if he loses this United States Championship, he can wash his hands clean and just walk away, because what is he really doing as United States champion? He won this on Monday Night Raw, and I can't even really think of who his opponents have been the last few a little bit. I think right off the top of my head, right as I say that, I think he had a match against Cesaro, if I remember right, was pretty good, but nothing really that memorable to be United States Championship matches. And something they need to do needs to bring some sort of a light to this championship where it's being defended. I don't want it hot shotted around where it's basically moving back and forth to different people every month, but maybe something like that would make this title not seem stale. It seems like they put it on people. They go on a 6-month title run that doesn't really mean anything. They finally drop it, and then they're all left in obscurity because they haven't been doing anything for the last 6 months, even though they've been champion. From there, we'll go to Big Show versus Rusev, a match that I've given a whole lot of praise to the last few weeks. Of course, we didn't get this match 2 weeks ago because The Rock showing up and just redoing all of the Monday Night Raw script. But Big Show versus Rusev honestly should be a very fun match. Main event last night, you had Rusev going up against Biggie Langston in a very fun match. And I think he's really getting what he's doing. And Big Show is a big guy that can sell for Rusev. We saw that Mark Henry jumped in there on Raw and made sure that he didn't make his good buddy tap out. But if you really pay attention to the Big Show's promos, he's not meaning to, but he's really putting Mark Henry in this place where he just is coming off like he's really letting down the nation of the United States, and he's just not being a good American, and he's going to end up losing his friend. I think that's what everybody's looking forward to happening here. So, those 5 matches, honestly, to me, is looking like a very good card. I'm going to have a lot of fun sitting back, watching this one in 2 weeks, and thinking that it's going to be a ton of fun. That's going to be the Sunday before Halloween, getting you ready. I know a lot of people are looking at the WWE Network, flipping through, Halloween Havoc shows of WCW days, and hopefully they can live up to that sort of a praise. From there, we'll go into talking